everybody. My name is Scott Freymuller. I'm here with Eric Worth. We're on the Knot today, and today's segment is going to be about addiction. And this was one of those things that we really didn't plan. Eric and I were fortunate enough to go on a trip. We went to the Suns game, which was amazing.
It was a great game.
It was awesome, and we got treated to a limo and the whole deal. We got food and drink. It was really, really cool. And we were talking there. We have some mutual friends, some great friends. Mm-hmm. And when we were sitting there talking, we were just chit-chatting away, and you told me a little bit about your story. And I thought, like, how amazing it is, and how it applies to what we're doing here. And the purpose of the show, and we talked about it a little bit, is really like how, trauma and events in your life affect you subconsciously or consciously. Mm. And one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, like, what you're going through and how that affects you, because addiction's addiction. It doesn't matter, what it is. It's in your brain, whether it's drugs or alcohol or whatever. Addiction's addiction, or a relationship or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I want to talk to you about. And from what I understand, you're in treatment right now.
I'm in treatment right now. I'm at 79 days sober.
Okay.
So still learning about myself. But I hid a lot of the trauma. You have trauma as a child, and you kind of just hide it a lot. And this treatment that I'm in has brought it up, has made me talk about it more, made me, like, relive the moments and take the trauma out of it.
Okay.
So it's
Can you share some? Is there? Is this
Yeah.
from, like, your childhood?
Yeah. So when I was a young kid, my mom was married to this guy in the Mexican mafia, and he used to beat her all the time. So she would lock me in the closet in the room, and she would turn on the Ninja Turtles really, really loud. So I couldn't hear what was going on, couldn't hear how bad the beating was, and I didn't get to see it. So the Ninja Turtle tattoo actually represents my protection. I got away from that, and I'd get up out of bed and he'd be sitting on the chair just waiting for us to get up to beat us. Like, it was just a non-stop thing. I've also watched my new stepdad, who's been in my life since I was 5. He's done things like that as well, but he's a true alcoholic. 30-pack of beer a day is nothing to him. So I watched him go from being nice, drinking, and then putting me through a wall, choking me out, chasing me out of the house. And I never thought these moments actually mattered. I just thought that that's how life was. It was okay for that to happen. And once I started on drugs and alcohol, it was like that stuff went away. I didn't have to feel it anymore. It made me so numb, and it took me away from it. But it's the drugs cause you to be numb, and my feelings went away. I couldn't love anymore. It makes you feel so bad about yourself, and it's not your fault.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It makes you feel bad about yourself. What do you mean?
In a sense that I was put in a situation, it happened to me. Now I'm numbing it, so I'm not dealing with it anymore. I never told my wife, who I've been married to for 11 years, for now. But it makes you feel bad inside to not grow. I stopped growing at a certain point with my emotions and how to regulate them. The anger, I've seen my dads just get angry like that, and it's a fight, so I thought that's how I had to live. And it would put pressure, it would put, stress on the people I was doing it to. So it came back in a circle of making me feel bad.
Wow. So the trauma from, like, when you were a kid, you tried to hide that with alcohol and drugs? Like, was it every drug, or just like whatever you could get a hold of?
Yeah,
like,
it started at kind of an early age. Started drinking at 16, going to parties. I got injured in sports. I broke my ankle, and it was put on opiates, Oxycontins and Somas and stuff. And once I started taking those, like, I loved the feeling in my body. It took away all the pain. But I used and abused it, you know. I used to do Jimi Hendrix type style where I put the Oxycontins on my forehead, wipe a wet bandana around my head, and let it just soak into my head, take a bunch of somas, and just feel numb.
So you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, I did.
And that was, you think that was why? Like, because like that childhood stuff was just messing with you?
Yeah, it took it away.
Because you think about it all the time.
No, I didn't want to. I didn't want to remember getting beat. I didn't want to remember my mom getting beat. You know, I remember we used to live in like a little 4 complex in California, and I remember just fights all the time. You know, getting beat in the middle of the complex, being thrown in the house. I didn't want to remember it.
Yeah.
And without knowing it, the drugs took it away and made me feel as a different person, like it never happened.
Wow. You know, that nobody can compare to any of that stuff, but the trauma, like, you hide from it in lots of different ways, right? Like, mine was alcohol. I don't know if I was really necessarily an alcoholic, but I definitely binge drink.
Yeah.
And I made some not so good decisions when I did that, and, you know, relationships ended because of it. Not because of that, but that was a part of it, right? That was a symptom of a whole bunch of other problems. And now that you're in rehab, what are you doing so that you don't have to remember? Because now you don't have anything to hide it.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, I found alcoholism is a disease. There's a enzyme in your liver that when you take that drink, it's a craving enzyme and it doubles. So that's why you keep drinking. You know, every time you drink 1 sip, now you have 2. You drink again, now you have 4. And those enzymes make you crave. That's like the allergy inside your body that I was talking about. Yeah. So drinking until you're drunk or passed out every day is because you have that enzyme and you just can't stop. So in treatment, I have a fantastic therapist. I could not have asked for a better one. And she just said, let's talk about things, you know. You don't have to hide it anymore. She was the first person to make me cry, like, in a long time, you know. She has this amazing quote on the back of her door, and the first sentences are, your new life is going to cost you your old life.
Yeah.
And I instantly thought about my family, my kids, you know, and how I was going to lose it. And I had already lost it. And at that point, I just I felt comfortable with her enough for me to tell her stuff. And it actually took it away. It took away the trauma for me.
Talking about it helps huge, man.
Yeah.
You know, sharing what you're sharing right now helps a lot of people. And I don't think people realize, like, how big of a deal it is. You know what I mean? And the red flags in a relationship. And I want to talk to you about that too, but you've mentioned your wife a couple times, like she's going away or you lost your family or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with your wife, but you didn't lose your kids are going to be your kids no matter what.
Yeah, you know.
Especially you doing what you're doing, like, you're brave. That's brave what you're doing. You're a badass.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of good and bad times. You know, my addiction has caused a lot of bad times. And it came to a point to where I actually tried to commit suicide. And I scared her, you know, like that. And I went to a psych ward for a couple days, and then I went to detox for a couple days, and then I went into treatment. And it took me a good month to actually start, like, feeling good. But, you know, she filed for divorce. 11 years, you know, 4 kids. It's hard. And that's what I mean by losing my old life. Like, I'm not going to have my same house, you know. I'm not going to have the same cars. I'm not going to have the luxury of seeing my kids every day of my life, which was my goal. You know, I never wanted to not see my kids every day. And now it's the reality. And it was probably until about a week ago, like 2.5 months into this, that I finally started to breathe about it, relax about it, and realize that this is reality. It's not fantasy anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's a killer. It's hard.
Oh, I bet. I can't imagine.
But, you know, I'm at a point to where I'm not craving. I'm not craving to drink or do drugs right now. I'm just dealing with reality without that stuff. And it's because of the treatment part.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you think, the process of going through this, like, how long are you in there for?
I do 90 days. So I
Okay.
graduate on December 17th, and I'll be at like 95 days because of the detox and everything like that. That's typically about, when you come in bad, when you come in like just defeated, like I was so suicidal, so depressed, like just didn't want to be here no more. And treatment, during the process, they always tell you, just do what someone else is telling you to do. Because what
Right.
you're doing obviously is not working.
Right.
So I just listened to them. First day, she's like, I want you to do 90 days. You're going to live in a sober living, and we're going to have one-on-ones. And I just said, okay, and just took it day by day. And so I'll be at 95 days that Friday when I graduate, and I'll get a little gold coin, that says the name of the treatment center on it, and they'll go around in a circle and tell me what I've impacted on other people. And that's probably the best thing to see, because I've watched other people coin out and going around the room and people saying what they've done. Like even a quiet person can change your life just by one or two words. And so I'm excited to see if I've done anything for anybody else. I'm excited to continue my sobriety after that as well.
Yeah. How do you do that? What's your plan?
I don't have a plan.
Really?
So,
do they support you after? Do they?
no. When you graduate, you're done. I mean, you could do evening IOP a couple days a week, and then you still can see another counselor. But right now, I don't know where I'm gonna go live. I don't know. I have a job, right? So at least I have that coming right now. But I don't know where I'm gonna live right now. So it really just is a day by day thing, and reality is starting to set in quite a bit.
So, and the addiction is for managing pain and stress, and there's still pain and stress. So is there a program to like transition? Is there like a, like people get out of, it's not jail, I understand that, but is there a program to help transition from like when you're in rehab to, you know what I'm saying? Because if you don't have a place to live, like that's
you
easy.
can go to another sober living, which is ran by the people in the house and stuff like that. But you're still kind of in the same situation, Every week someone's getting getting relapsed out.
What does that mean?
They're 20 days in and they leave for a day and they come back high. So we have to take them out of treatment. We have to put them in detox again.
And then they go back in treatment.
It's just a circle.
Is it the same people?
Let's say this. In my house, we can have 9 total people. And in my room, there's 4 of us. 2 beds was like a rotating bed every week. People coming in saying they want to do treatment. They just got out of detox. Now they're in the program, but they crave. They want to do the drug again. You have to really force yourself to go at it. Like you can't just say it's like, you can't go half in, I guess you can say. And the AA meetings, that helps. Typically, right now you have to do 5 a week when you go through the treatment center. So I'm going to 5 meetings a week, listening to other people's stories, getting a fellowship, learning about other people. And then when I get out, you're supposed to continue that. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't go to meetings anymore to get the help because they think they're cured. A lot of people don't call people who are from the treatment center. And so I've created a fellowship inside of the treatment. We have a group text. At any point in time, for Thanksgiving, for instance, I was having a hard time being around my wife. It was for the kids. I was there for the kids, but it was just hard. It's so heartbreaking. Yeah. So I text in the group, and then the group, gives me solutions. They help me out through it. But when people leave, they don't do that no more.
Huh. Eric, it's interesting to me to see like the bravery in the people you're talking about, like they're in rehab, right? And there's so many people, myself included, in the past where I used alcohol to where I'm sure, technically I could have been an alcoholic, right? And I binge drink and, I get in huge fights with my girlfriend at the time and whatever. And that was super unhealthy. And then at some point, something triggers to where you're like, dude, this isn't going to work. I can't do this. Like there's something wrong, right? And thank God I was already in therapy. And like what you're saying, I had to do EMDR to get rid of some of my stuff, but it's a process, and it's fascinating to me how some people can be like functioning in life and not actually do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're not like, when I was talking to you, one of the reasons why I brought you on the show is to just understand and almost demonstrate too that there's a lot of people like you that aren't in treatment. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you were married, you had 4 kids, you have a job.
Yeah.
It looks normal from the outside, and it's a shit show on the inside.
Yeah, it really
And
is.
a lot of people survive like that for a really long time until something blows up.
Yep. And mine was a suicide attempt.
That's crazy, man.
That's how it changed everything. You know, I never thought I had a problem. But
You never thought you had a problem with drugs and alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was just me doing like normal stuff. You know, and in treatment, I started looking at it. They're like, how long have you been an addict? And I look back, and from the time of 16 to now 35, I have literally been high or drunk every day for 18 years. So I have been an addict for longer than being a child. Wow. So it made me things just started clicking at that point.
Every day you drink?
Every day I drank, did a drug.
Until recently?
Until September 15th.
What does that feel like?
It's different. I have they call it the pink cloud. You know, you feel better. Eventually the pink cloud will go away. But I feel like there's like a light around me. I feel like now when I talk, now when I setting boundaries, you know, telling people what I want or need, I feel better for myself. It's not just walking up to someone and then changing my personality to be friends with them and then doing the drug.
So it's self-worth and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm. And I lost all that, you know. I lost it to a point to where every day I was doing a drug or drinking, and I was trying to please my wife every day. But I forgot that she married me for me, right? So I lost me. Like, I'm a huge sports fan and all that, and I didn't care no more. I used to work out every day, and I just didn't care no more. Why should I work out every day now? I can spend an extra hour with her, but then we get in an argument because I'm high or drunk.
You become codependent on that.
You become way codependent. It actually is a drug to become codependent, you know. And losing my wife now, I have to learn how to cope with that, just like I had to learn how to cope with losing alcohol or losing marijuana or losing the opiates. Like, I had to learn, and I'm still learning, because codependency is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's codependent in a way. Mm-hmm. But when you lose yourself in it, you're trying to live someone else's life, not yours.
Oh, that's crazy. You know, we, Shelly and I, she's the co-host on, you know, we do a He Said, She Said, it's about relationships. And we do a lot of research, and we, especially, you know, I can just speak for myself right now, but I run into people all the time, and we all have the same story. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a super gnarly traumatic event, and we don't compare those events, right? Because each person's trauma is their own trauma. Mm-hmm. But there's a traumatic event, and then that brings you into an unhealthy relationship, which develops into other stuff.
Yep.
And the question is when do you pull the hard stop? Like, where's the red flag at in all those things that happened? And I bet you there's 1,000 of them probably, right? Like, where's the red flag where you could have said, dude, hard stop? Like, in my life, there's been a shit ton of them. And no one's ever been, and there's no blame, nobody's a victim. I made my own choices. But my point is like, there has to be somebody that knows, like, holy shit, this isn't normal for Eric. Like, this isn't okay behavior, dude. Somebody who straps pills to their head? Like, you fucking kidding me? I never even heard of that before. And I'm not judging you, and I'm not, like, no. I'm just saying, like, to me, that'd be a red flag. Like, if I knew you before, I'd be like, dude, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, that's an issue, man.
You know, and a lot of people say this, too. Me and you can get high together, and you can overdose. At that point in time, I should realize I shouldn't do this no more. You just died from this. But the addiction just takes over. I mean, it might be a day or two, and you're right back at it. And it's because those red flags you just want to forget about. You want to forget about your traumas. You want to forget about the red flags.
But you're building more.
You're building more, but you don't realize that because you're still so addicted. If I see a red flag or a red flag happens, what do? I go get high. because it takes the red flag away. It
What
numbs
about
it.
what about your wife at the time, your wife now, whatever? Didn't she like? Is it? I mean, what isn't there like an issue with the kids or like? I'm not trying to pry into your
No,
stuff.
no. You're good. So, I mean,
Like
it's
we're
more or less like remembering who I was. It's more or less the remembering why we got married, the good times. And you try to put the good times in front of what's going on until there's a point where it's just everything is bad.
but you're there like every day, hi, and she's like cool with that.
No, not at all.
Well, then, what took so long? You want to commit suicide?
I think she was afraid that if we got divorced, I would commit suicide. When someone's in that bad of an addiction, and someone else is there who loves you, who knows who you were, and all this stuff, it's like they want to help you, like they want to fix it. But it comes to a point where it's up to the person who's the addict to fix it. And luckily enough, when I tried to commit suicide, she petitioned me to go to a psych ward, and it changed my life, being in a psych ward with people
So finally, that was a red flag. The suicide part
that
was
was
a red
it.
flag.
That was the last time, and
At least that's really cool. You should love her for that and thank her for that.
I do. I have thanked her, and she got me into this treatment center that I'm in. She got me into the detox. Like she did all of that stuff.
That's so cool. That's
just
love,
to help
dude.
me.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge. There's a lot of people in the world that don't have that, right? Because you think, some people, and clearly not your wife, but some people in those situations think they're the victim and they don't do anything. They're like, oh my God, you see what he did or she did? Like, I'm out. Oh my God, I'm you know what I mean? Where she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she stuck with me, and with the addiction going away now, like I can see what I have done, right? I can also see what she's done in a different way.
Dude, and there's not a problem on the planet that there's only one person. It always takes two. That's bullshit to think anything else. But it's also, it sounds like she took some responsibility too, and that's pretty awesome, man. And you did too. Like the bravery.
Yeah, because I'm in treatment voluntarily. I can leave whenever I want.
Yeah, you don't want to leave.
But I don't want to leave.
I wouldn't either.
And I've been in a group where people come and go all the time, We do things like curfew and stuff like that. Stuff that, I'm 35 years old, married with 4 kids. Like, I don't have a curfew.
Yeah.
I don't have to live with dudes all the time.
But you need one now.
But now I do.
You need that structure, yeah.
I do. I need to look back on how I fucked up.
Yeah, that's self-awareness in a big, big way, And I talk to a lot of counselors and a lot of people about the show, and even the counselors and even the psychiatrists and even the psychologists and even the doctors have had trauma in their life, and that's one of the reasons why they do what they do. And, we were talking before the show, and I was like, hey, we're going to have a call center, and it'd be cool to have people like you in there sometimes, Maybe we even could pay you at some point, but having that ability to help other people helps you too. And this show helps me. The reason why I'm doing this show is because I didn't actually consciously want to kill myself, but subconsciously I did. I didn't realize it until I finally went through treatment. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like August 20 something. And I just like, holy shit, that's why all this is happening. Like, and it was brutal because then I had to face my truth and all these different things. And the show started like 2 weeks after this, because I'm like, I don't ever want anybody to ever see or feel the way I felt.
Yeah.
And it's like an education, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of things that need to change, because those red flags, like you're talking about, are big in the beginning of things. Like, that's the why. And then, you go through this treatment center and you make this commitment and you're brave and you do all these things, and then like, okay, well, now what do we do after? Like, you just fucking go back out in the world where you just were, and now you're divorced, and now you're, you know what I mean? That's a tough place to be.
Yeah.
So then what do you do then? Like, where's that? That's a gap, is what I'm saying. It's a gap.
It's the willpower. If I want to continue to stay sober, I have to just live it day by day. I can't be sitting here thinking, okay, I got 3 weeks to find a place, but I have to find a place where I get my kids too. I can't be thinking about that stuff, because then the stress starts popping up and all that. So I'm not ready. So I take it day by day. Literally, today is a new day. I talk to my higher power. I can start the day at any point in time. If the day goes bad, I can stop, talk to my higher power, and start the day over.
Yeah.
And it helps just getting through it day by day.
Yeah, it does. It does. When you say the higher power, like that's the faith in the higher power, and it's also the faith in yourself too. Like you can do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm asking, I guess, in the rehab, is it almost like rewiring your brain?
It is.
It's changing your habit, right? You're like
is.
not your habit of doing drugs, but like your habit of how you think.
It really is. It teaches you about like emotions, narcissism. I mean, it teaches you the stuff that you should know about yourself. And it helps. It helps you just see clearly, because at that point you're sober, you have nothing in your system, and you're like kind of back in school again. But it's your life you're fighting for. So you're trying to pay attention. I don't sit back in my chair for the whole group and just let everybody talk. I'm involved in every question. I'm involved in every conversation because I want to save my life. Like attempting suicide with 4 kids, like, what am I doing? Why would I do that?
There's no reason to.
There's no reason
to. Not when you're sober.
No.
But you're there's different ways to intoxicate yourself. Like sometimes, you just work a ton, or there's lots of different things that do that, and there's it's not always about the drugs, and a lot of people aren't brave enough to admit like, hey man, I have a problem, and it's not always about the drugs and the alcohol. It could be many other things that would corrupt your life or interrupt your life or keep you in that spot. There's a lot of people that are super successful that have that underlying I want to die type shit. I was one of them, and I didn't even know it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude. It
took me a long time to realize that I wanted to die, and then it's taken me 2.5
Don't you feel like
months.
shit when you know? It's sad, huh?
It makes, but you don't realize it at the point.
Yeah.
When I try to.
Because you're self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
You're just fucking yourself over because you're so mad.
You don't think of anything else, and the anger just builds up. Like I was beet red, I was sweating, like I was just ready to go.
Huh.
And it took. I was stuck in a closet for 8 hours. I tried to run in front of a semi. I was looking at a knife for hours. Didn't think about my kids at all. Didn't think about my parents.
Were you high then? Or
No.
No? You were sober?
I was sober that whole day.
And that's how much that pain is. That's why you get high, so you wouldn't have to feel that.
Yep. And the more I felt it, the more drugs I would do, just to take it away.
Do you like when you're in the facility and they're you're rewiring your brain or however you want to say it, like do they give you tricks and methods and stuff?
Yeah, they give you coping skills. And the coping skills have helped. The first coping skill I learned was the word stop. You stop, you observe, you take a step back, and you proceed mindfully. So when you're getting ready to get in that anger situation or you're getting ready to get high, just stop. Literally just stop. Then you observe the situation. Take a step back. It's okay to go backwards because you're going to proceed mindfully. You're going to think of what the best option is for everybody instead of just being self-centered. I learned breathing techniques, 3 breaths in, breathe it out, The breathing helps because it brings oxygen to your brain and it just takes away that part. I got a rock that when I get in bad situations, like if I have to sit through something, I'll rub the rock. The texture of it will help me just take my mind off of it.
You're trying to get present again.
You're trying to become present again, correct? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, the stop one worked, like that was like the first thing I took in was just learning about that. And then when you also learn like other people's stories and know that they've done the same thing you've done, it's just a little different circumstances, but they've done the same thing you do. And at that point you can look at them and be like, you've been sober for 5 years and the day you got sober, like your mom died, or you get divorced like I am, like you learn to actually deal with reality. The fantasy world goes away. And that's what the drugs are. It's just a fantasy world.
Wow. But there's multiple kinds of addiction. There's sex addiction. There's all kinds of different things, We say like workaholics and we joke about that, but that's actually like avoiding stuff too.
Yep.
Like whatever your jam is to avoid, I don't say jam, that's a really poor choice of words, but like whatever your thing is to avoid what life is the addiction. Is the problem, right? And then it's just like cheating or whatever, you get that like, it's just so messed up and so sad that, those are red flags. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're drunk every day and you can't take a day off, like you don't stop drinking one day, then you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that's like somebody somewhere hopefully would be, and that's again part of the reason why we're doing this show is so people, not the people that are necessarily always having the problem, but maybe like their spouses or partners or friends or whatever, they're like, dude, when's the last day you haven't been drunk? And you're like,
Yeah.
since I was 16? You'd be like, fucking seriously?
Yeah,
Like, shouldn't we
that's
like,
how I felt. I was
Yeah.
like, dang,
yeah,
18 years I've been messed up.
yeah, like that's, I don't want to say crazy, but that's a red flag, dude. You know, if it was 2 years, it'd be a red flag. If it was a year, it'd be red, you know?
Yeah.
Like what, and that's the point. Like where do you, you know, hit that hard stop? And we talked about that today too. That hard stop is huge, dude.
It really takes someone else to help you. You have to reach out. It's hard in an addiction to ask somebody for help because maybe you're hiding the addiction. I hid my addiction from everybody. You know, I had the house, I had the cars, I had the nice clothes, you know, got my haircut done all the time. You know, every time we go out in an event, we always looked good. But secretly, I was dying inside. Secretly, I was smoking and drinking before I went to an event. I was pre-gaming all the time. You know, going to an event and just getting sloshed all the time. And then coming home and just passing out. And people were like, oh yeah, he just got drunk. Yeah, but how many times has he done that in this week? How many times has he been high? Like so high that he just crashes, doesn't know what reality is. I never reached out. I actually pushed all my friends away. I pushed my whole family away. I stopped calling everybody, stopped talking to everybody because I didn't want them to tell me I was doing something bad. I didn't want to feel it and be told it at the same time.
What would be your advice now? Like what do you, I mean, being sober for that long, is this where you want to be?
Yes, this is where I want to be. Once,
Why?
you know, mainly for my kids. That was like a big thing for me, was that I've always wanted to be a great dad. I've always wanted to be the person who's always there, but I stopped being there. I stopped being the dad that I've always wanted to be. And I didn't realize it. You know, yelling at my kids for putting their shoes on the stairs. Like, why? Now it's more of like, it's okay that you put your shoes there. You're 11 years old.
Yeah.
You don't have to live this perfection life. My suggestion to anybody who thinks they might be an addict or who is literally doing it every day is just ask for help. Take that one step. All you have to do is take that one step, and the rest you're guided through. You know, luckily my step was given to me by my wife. She literally like petitioned me to where sheriff showed up at the house, took me in handcuffs, took me to the psych ward. That was not even me asking for help. That was someone else saying, dude, you're done. You have to get help. And then I took the step of continuing the help, of volunteering to go to the program for 90 days. I took that step because it was suggested, because I asked for help afterwards.
You know, we've had a lot of conversations about that, and you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. Mm-hmm. You can't tell somebody, hey, you know, your behavior isn't right. Like you do, you're right. You have to, that red flag's there, but if you don't want to accept it or realize your reality or understand your reality, then it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You know, that old saying, but it's really true.
It is.
And, you know, going through this, I know some people that I would love to help, you know, some people in past relationships I would really love to help, but you can't do that. It's not ethical. You can't go offer help to somebody who hasn't asked for it.
Yep.
And it doesn't work. You
know, and even in rehab, seeing someone who I like cared about a lot, a young kid, been homeless, you know, like just messed up, never learned I taught him how to make a bed, taught him how to do dishes. Like that was me helping.
Right.
And then he relapsed. So that's me. And then I got him into another detox. And then he gets out and then he relapsed again. I can only do so much until it starts affecting me.
Right.
And that's what we're taught in here, is that extend the helping hand, do what you can. But if that person doesn't accept it or take their own step,
then don't do it.
Then you need to get away, because you are going to fall into the same stuff.
Right. You will, for sure. That's part of self-esteem and self-worth too. Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I learned is that, you know, you don't help somebody unless they ask for it.
Yep.
You know, you just don't offer your help all the time because you'll be running around. That's a self-esteem thing. That's trying to get approval from somebody. Like, hey, you know, everybody will like me if I go kiss their butt and I help them.
Yep.
But you're taking away from yourself, you know, and you're taking away from your kids and other things like that. It's funny. I think you are a good dad because you are doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I think that's not a think, that's a fact. And the other thing is, you know, when for me, you know, not in a selfish way, but you're doing it for you. Like, isn't it cool to be conscious?
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it like, you know, I'm going to let you talk a lot, but my point is like when I hit this point in therapy when I did this EMDR, and I swear to God, dude, it was like somebody pulled the wool, but it took a pretty traumatic event for it to happen, you know, like a pretty gnarly breakup I had, and you know, going through the therapy, I was just like, holy shit, like everything looks different. Like it's totally different, dude.
Yeah, you're present.
Yeah, super present. There's nothing in the back of your mind messing with you. You have to deal with a lot of demons, though.
Yeah.
In that
but
process.
You're dealing with them right then and there.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
You're not shoving
You're not
them
carrying
away
them. Yeah.
and carrying them all the time. You know, there's been times that I've done things that I still think about of how bad of a person I was or how bad of a dad I was, and I forget that I was still good in other ways. But being sober, I can deal with the problem right then and there. I can literally, if I'm doing something wrong, I can just stop.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have something that's changing my mind. I don't have a mind-altering substance that's saying, nope, keep going, doing what you're doing. And then when you regret it later, we'll come right back to this high.
Wow. Yeah, you have those events where, yeah, they're life-changing. You're right. You know, yours was suicide, and yeah, there's something usually has to happen that's so gnarly you can't like not admit it anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Can't hide it anymore.
Yeah, yeah. The interesting thing is, you know, it still comes back to you though. It's going to be about you. It's because if you're not good, then the kids won't be good. If you're not good, you can't have a relationship. You know what I mean? You can't do anything. You won't be able to stay in a job. You'll end up back.
Yep.
So
And
that's
the
the key.
statistics show that in group of 10 people, only one person will actually not relapse.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's a circle, man. A lot of people have done it for so long that it's the drug detox treatment, the drug detox treatment, and there's never a step outside of the circle. And so, you know, I made great friends, and some of them have relapsed like the day after, and they've been there for 90 days and like showed so much progress, like loved their new life. But then they get back to their old life where either the old house, the old girlfriend, the kids, like whatever, and you fall right back into it.
Because it's toxic, and that's like your like memory of how to deal with shit.
Yep, it is.
You know, I'd used alcohol a lot for that, you know, and I kept myself busy all the time and things like that. But, you know, there for a while, like in a toxic relationship, that's all I could do is drink. Because I didn't want to admit that, like, it was fucked up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think some people do that to manage their old, like what you were doing, to manage. There's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like that.
Yeah,
and
you
you
don't
wonder when
realize
it's going to
how many
grenade.
people.
There's a lot.
Until you start talking about it.
Yeah, it's as soon as you become honest, and that's another thing you said earlier too, is you can't fix shit unless you tell the truth. You have to tell your truth, because then you don't know what to fix unless you tell your truth. And the other thing too is when you tell your truth and you tell me, like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, dude. I can't imagine. I'm sorry that happened to your mom. That's crazy,
Yeah.
right? Like I couldn't fathom. Like when you said that, and remember on the bus I said I don't want to know. Wait till the show, because then it's real.
Yep.
Right? Then it's not like we're not freaking planning this shit. And it's more impactful when it's like that. But it also sucks.
Yeah, it's hard to hear.
It is.
It's hard
really
to take
hard.
in.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch it happen. And I always never wanted to be that guy. And I just fell into numbing life. I wasn't happy anymore.
And that tattoo, when you said the reason why you have that tattoo, that's gnarly.
Yeah, everybody thinks, oh, the Ninja Turtles, man, you must love them. Yeah, I love them. Like, I watch them all the time. I have the DVDs. I have the VHSs, you know, like, in case the world dies. I have a VCR for them, like, to watch them. Like, I have all this stuff.
It made that much of a fucking impact.
It did. It changed. Once I got the tattoo, I felt more protected. But then I hid more because I stopped letting people in. You know, I wasn't the person I used to be. But the Ninja Turtles have protected me, have made me relive the trauma all the time.
Is that a trigger? Like when you put the tattoo on your arm, is that a trigger?
At first it wasn't. At first I felt like I was talking about it, but I never talked about it.
You never really like talked about it, like to heal. You talked about it like, hey, this happened.
Yeah, and then once people kept asking me about it, then every time someone would ask me about it,
It reminds you of it.
yeah. So I would just tell them, oh yeah, I love Ninja Turtles, you know.
But then you're lying now.
I'm lying. Because I can't talk about it anymore.
It's amazing. Just talking, since I started this, a lot of people have reached out, and I swear, Eric, like, we all have the same fucking story. Mm-hmm. It might be different words, but it's the same story pretty much. And it's fascinating to me to know how many people have had trauma like that and then have some sort of addiction, a codependent relationship, a toxic relationship, alcohol, drugs, whatever. And it's almost like we're all, running from something until something happens that changes it, like with you, once again, right? Like that's the message. Yep. But now the question is like, what do you do now? Like, what's the fucking plan?
Now I take the trauma away from my kids. Now I show my kids the trauma that they had was not their fault. It was my fault. And that you can change. You can talk about the trauma. You can talk about your feelings. You can come to me and not be scared anymore.
Right.
About how I'm going to react.
Right.
So that hopefully one day they won't be in the same shoes I am right now. You
break the cycle.
Yeah.
You got to break the cycle.
I got to break the cycle. I've seen a couple things. I was telling Shelly earlier that they show this picture of matches, right? And it lights the first one, and then they all light, and then they pull one down, and they don't light it anymore. But you're pulling it down. Are you going to a worse spot? Are you being suicidal? So I have changed it to balloons. The balloons are all being held, and when you break the cycle, you let it go, and it goes up. And then the rest of the balloons can follow the balloon up. And I feel that showing my kids that I messed up, I'm taking full credit for it, I'm going to be better, I'm going to be sober, I'm going to give you the life that you've always deserved. And I hope that one day you don't resort to what I've done in my life.
It's almost like you teach them, I cheated, and when I did that, I was, my truth is my truth, man, I got to own it. And I did that because I don't want my son to keep repeating that same cycle. Yep. Like my dad cheated, my mom cheated, everybody cheated that I knew. My ex-girlfriend, her ex-husband cheated, her dad cheated, like everybody cheated.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
And it was like, it's like ingrained in everything around you, and I was like, man, I don't want my kid to do that. I'm never gonna do that again because it like fucking kills you.
But you have to live that life. You have to do it to realize that it's wrong.
Yeah, and I don't know if you have to do it to realize it's wrong. I think you have to make mistakes to understand growth and all those things. I don't know if you have to do every thing, you know what I'm saying? That would suck. But that truth brings you the self-worth and it helps you understand what's going on. And I can't feel bad about that anymore because that's part of healing, right? But I can say, hey, it happened. It's not okay. Yeah. But it happened, and it's in my past, and there's not a freaking thing I can do about it, man. There's nothing you can do.
Yep. And
except
until you get away from the shamefulness of it, then you're still holding on to it.
Mine was, my shamefulness came from the fire department, like people dying every fucking day that I was there. It was crazy. But I didn't understand it, and there was really nobody, like what you're saying, like I kept doing all these things that were out of character, but it's like, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's really present enough to notice, And that's the thing that we're trying to change is that noticing, just people that understand like, hey, this isn't okay and this is why, and we're all in the same boat. Some of the content here triggers people, like I'm sure yours will. Your story triggers people like, oh my God, I'm actually doing that. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I get drunk every day, and I've been drunk every day for a year.
That could be your step, like for the people that are watching, that could be the time where you realize, okay, I do need help.
Without going to suicide.
Without having to ask a family member or a friend or anything. Reaching out to somebody random is just as good as reaching out to your family.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like I was saying, the people that talk, and it's a girl, I was in Sedona, And a girl I talked with there, she got 3 DUIs, and on her 3rd DUI, she was sleeping in her car because she knew that she was intoxicated, and someone that she knew called a cop, and they arrested her and put her in jail for 2 years.
Yep.
And I was
I've actually been in that situation.
it's crazy. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
But still, you keep, like, you get a DUI, and don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody has been in a situation where that could have happened. Not everybody, but a lot of people have. So
Yep.
I don't judge. But then you get that one, then you get another one, and then you're still in a toxic situation. Then you get another one. So eventually, it catches up with you so gnarly that there's 1 trauma, 2 trauma, 3 trauma, and now you're like really in a shit show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just fascinating to me how that happens, and then the next step, like your next steps, you don't even know what they are. You don't know where you're going to live. You don't. But you have friends. I mean, you have resources.
Yep.
You have Anthony. You have there's a lot of people that me. So I mean, there's a lot of people that now.
Yeah.
A lot more people that
A
I'm
lot
not
of
saying
sober people.
I mean, I'm not sober.
Well,
I drink. So
in a sense of like
healthy
relationship. It's
Yeah.
not my old friend who I've known for 25 years who I hid from, and they're gonna think of me the same way. They're
Right.
gonna look at me the same way. With the sober friends, you probably don't drink every day.
Mm-mm.
With that type of relationship,
Not anymore.
you're vulnerable. Like, you're able to have a conversation that doesn't bring up your past. And if your past comes up, it's because you're talking about it instead of looking at someone saying, "Oh fuck."
The thing too is like you cannot let people in your world that hold you to your past.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people want to keep you there. A lot of people want to keep making you pay for it over and over and over. That is not okay.
No.
Not okay. You can never ever grow if somebody keeps pulling you back to when you made a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
That's not acceptable.
Yeah.
That's like a hard stop right there.
It is.
Like, dude, I'm done. Don't do that to me anymore. I did it.
It's about
I'm
setting
sorry
the
for
boundaries.
it. Fucking done.
Yeah. Like, how many times can I apologize for doing this one
You
wrong
can't.
thing?
You know what? And if it can't be let go, then it can't be let go. Like, if your partner or whoever can't let that go, then that's okay. But then you need to move on, because everybody can change. Like, that's why. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're changing. You just changed for how many days?
78 days.
78 days after being freaking hammered since you were 16. You just changed. So you need people to help you stay in that change and move
Hold me
forward and look at the
accountable.
future and hold you accountable. Yeah. And that's something, that for me, you just can't let that element around anymore. Somebody's going to hold you to your past, just done. Block it, whatever you got to do, And it's so huge, man, because you can change. People can change for sure.
And it's hard in a relationship, 11 years.
I know.
It's hard to forgive everything and move forward, which I think is what happened. There was just too much. The bad stood out more than the good over a period of time.
Yeah.
And you just hold the resentment. You hold the bad out. You bring the bad up all the time, and it's just.
But that's a trigger for you.
Yeah.
And probably for her too. Whatever her deal is. Because that doesn't come for free. Right? All those traumas, that's not for free. You're dealing with it in some way, shape, or form. The thing is, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of work. But we talked today, actually, and, this is a fact that, your trauma started when you were a kid. My trauma started when I was a kid. And it just builds up because you never deal with it. You never do that hard stop. So now you have all this shit built up, and now you're 35. I'm 51. So now you have 35 years to deal with, or since you were 16 probably, or even before that, it sounds like, with your, I don't bring it up, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you have all this stuff because you never dealt with it ever.
Yeah, just push.
And it just keeps building up. And then, some of the issues that you had with your wife were because of that. And some of the issues that were that are because of the thing before that. And that's the other message too. Like, when you say a hard stop, it has to be a hard stop.
You do.
And it has to be a hard stop to bring it up. Like, you gotta start over. You mean you can't keep going back, because if you keep pulling somebody back to their past, that all that does is add crap to the current situation.
Yeah.
If you need to go deal with it with a professional, sit in a room, deal with it, work it out, accept it, forgive it, or move on. Whatever the decision is, but whatever that decision is, you have to commit to it, both of you, and then decide and move on. It can't be a, hey, I forgive you, we're going to start over and move on. But remember that one thing you did, you That's not okay. You can't do that, and you can't accept it. That's part of self-esteem.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable.
Yeah, and I lost all self-esteem. just sitting on the couch doing nothing. Kids want to go play volleyball, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get high, you know. And that hard stop has got to happen. But you have to put in so much effort. It's harder to stay sober than it is to get high.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to really look around you. And, you know, I talked about higher power earlier. A lot of people aren't religious. I'm not a religious person. Do I believe in God? Yes. But praying, I don't know what I'm praying to. I don't know how I'm praying. And it took me a while to take the higher power and change how I look at it. I don't look at it as a person anymore. My higher power is trees. I know that sounds crazy, but the trees provide oxygen. They provide shade. They provide food. That higher power shows me that there's something more than me. There's something I can't explain that's higher than me.
You're actually talking to yourself, too.
Yeah, you are. You literally just can talk about whatever you want, however you feel, and it kind of takes it off.
Yeah.
Takes it off your shoulders.
So we were talking about trees. We were talking about that being your higher power, and it's not weird. You know, it's funny how people, you know, you can pray, you can do all these different things, but when you're doing that, you're changing how you think in your mind, too.
You are.
It's not really about the trees, or it is about the higher power, whatever it is, God, the universe, whatever, but you're changing the thought process in your mind, and you're talking to yourself, actually, and you're trying to reprogram those shitty thoughts that you have in your head, or like that worry, or, you know things are going to be okay. You know you have the power, and you know you don't have to have bad self-esteem. You know you have self-worth. Like, dude, you're sitting here right now.
Yeah.
You know what? You took a shower. You showed up on time. You're in rehab. You're sober for the first time in many, 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 many years. You know, you're telling the truth. Like, just those things by themselves, probably, I don't know how many percent of the people. There's a lot of people that can't even do that.
Yeah.
And the truth part is the key. Like, I didn't tell the truth ever in my life, not once until just recently.
I always thought I was.
Yeah, I thought I was too, but I was protecting my self-image is what I was really doing. I wasn't really telling the truth.
Yep.
And it's huge, and it's because of fear, and it's because of low self-esteem. Now, honestly, I cheated. I made some big mistakes, and you know what? I want everybody to know, because I don't want them to make the same mistake, right? And that's where it becomes not about you anymore. I have enough self-esteem and enough self-worth to know that, and it's not about me. It's to help other people too.
Yeah,
it's to make change.
When you say it out loud, and someone else hears it, you could be helping them without even knowing it.
Well, because most of the time, people are like, oh yeah, oh yeah, you don't want to hear my story? Like, here's what I did. And it's actually healing. And then you ask yourself why. Like, why did you do all those things? Like, why were you high for that many years? Because you had a major, major traumatic event that you didn't deal with.
Yep.
And it killed your self-esteem. It made you feel, I don't know how it made you feel, but I can imagine that you felt like helpless and weak, and you couldn't protect your mom, the person that birthed you, and this motherfucker's beating her, and you can't do anything about it. And that's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, and
I'm not putting those words in your mouth,
No,
but I'm assuming,
But it made me angry.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
I
it
remember
did.
one time we were on the street, and this kid touched my mom, and like, I blacked out anger and like beat him like almost to death. I couldn't stop.
I'm not laughing at that, but I mean, I get it. I get it.
And that instance has progressed to where as soon as I don't like something, I see red, I turn red, my eyes turn different colors, and I forget what I'm doing.
Yep, I've been there. Yeah, and that's from trauma. That's a red flag, right? Like, if you grenade that big, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Like, hey guys, guess what? That's not normal. People don't do that. They don't lose their temper that bad. You can't like go totally, black out and be done with it. And it's so powerful. It's like so different in that. Man, I just can't explain, because I just remember, like, somebody would cut me off and I'd get so fucking mad.
Oh, I hate that.
And I know, but right, but like, why? Who cares, dude?
Yeah.
It's so funny. Or somebody says something to you and you're like, but who cares? And
It's hard.
You know what's funny? Here's what's interesting is that, we went to that event, and we were in a good group of people.
Yeah.
I think we were in a really healthy group of people.
That's a great family.
Great family.
I fell
good
in love.
friends.
Yeah.
And there's no drama. You notice that? Even when there's drama, there wasn't drama.
Yeah.
Like, people are stealing beers out of our suite, and we were cool. Like we didn't accept it. We
No.
definitely set a boundary, but nobody like lost their temper. Nobody was like motherfucker, you know.
No one jumped over.
No, everybody's super. Yeah, they're like, hey, if you really want a beer, dude, we'll give you money. You can go buy a beer. Like you don't need to steal it.
Yeah.
You know, that type of stuff. But also hold them accountable. Like that ain't gonna happen again.
Yeah, because you know previously I would.
So one of us would have freaked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have too. And that what you're going through and what I went through and all that it really does. It changes you and it gives you the tools to manage that. You know.
And that was actually the second time I've ever been at an event since I've been sober, because I went to the Cardinals game too. Around people drinking.
What is that like? Tell me.
Now it's okay. Now I look at the drink and I'm like, I'm okay. Like it's really weird. Like I don't think about it anymore. Over the time, I've learned that it was things happening in my life that pushed me towards that stuff. And right now, I'm happy. Right now, I feel self-worth. I feel like me again. And the drinking part, I was okay with. Like, people, you know, when you guys first showed up, everybody did shots. I just stood there. It was a different type of feeling.
That's cool. And you know what's funny too is like if you say no, nobody's like, oh come on, dude.
Yeah.
Do you notice that? Nobody was pushing anybody for anything. It was a healthy environment.
Yeah.
The thing I want to say too is we talked about codependency and things like that, and I was in relationships where I was like, dude, we need to stop drinking. Like alcohol's not good. But then the other person would keep drinking, right? Like you couldn't ever get that sustainable base, and you want to be part of the crew, like I did too. I wanted to like hang out, so I drink too because I don't want to make it not fun.
Yeah.
Or you get the answer like, oh, dude, if we don't drink, then like it's not gonna be fun. Like if we go out with our friends, like I want to drink, and then you know what that says? It says, hey, I'm not supporting you.
Yeah.
And I'm not supporting this relationship, and I choose alcohol over this.
Like, how do I have sober fun?
Yeah. That how the fuck's that gonna happen, right?
I don't know.
I mean, I do.
I mean,
I was. You know what's funny is I never drank till I was 30. Not
Really?
once. Nope. Once in high school I did. I got drunk drinking beers in high school, but till I was like I don't know 30 years old, never. Never.
that's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, right? I mean, you think that's crazy, but I've always had fun. And it's the same fun.
It is the same fun.
It's the same fun.
It's
Nothing
about
changes.
being
It's
around
probably
the
better,
people.
actually.
Yeah.
You know, you're more present, you're more awake, you know, whatever. But not whatever. It is. You can still have a lot of fun without.
So, having fun being sober, you know, yesterday, one of my good friends, he was in treatment, now he's out, now he's doing great. What do? How do we have fun? Like, we can't go drink or whatever. We went and had lunch. We went to Dave & Buster's.
Yeah.
We played for 2 hours at Dave & Buster's, just having sober fun.
Right. Yeah.
And it changes because in that 2 hours, you have fun the whole time. But
Right.
when you're an addict, every 15 minutes, you're getting a new beer and you're waiting 5 minutes. So that 2 hours cuts down to an hour of fun and
think about it
an
like that.
hour of drinking.
Right. And drama.
And drama.
Or
'Cause you're
potential
trying-
issues.
Oh, I can't believe they don't have a table for me to put my beer.
Yeah.
Or they walk by you like, hey, I asked for a beer like 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Where is it?
Yeah. You almost create your own shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it not fun.
You create the
then.
drama.
Yeah, it makes it not fun. You're right. Or you do things that you regret. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
And some people use that too, just so they can function as a human being. Like they don't have the self-esteem or the confidence to talk without being intoxicated, right? Like you have to be intoxicated with some sort of a, outside element. So you
To
just
be
have the confidence
yourself.
to talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's an interesting phenomenon too. Like that in itself is a red flag. Like, hey, can we go out one night and not drink? Like let's have a no drink dinner or a no drink bar visit or whatever. And the culture, and especially even my culture, it's frequent where I'll just go to a bar with some friends and we'll drink. Like that's our fun.
Yeah.
Like think about it.
there's
it's fun to be social.
Yeah.
But it's like that's the
you're
fun.
going out to drink.
Or like sit there and watch TV in a bar and talk to your friends and hit on some strange people you don't even know or whatever. Like think how freaking unhealthy that is.
Yeah.
That's unbelievably unhealthy. Now sometimes it's fun. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, it's a great time.
but you
We're
can
not
do
gonna
that
lie.
sober too.
Yeah.
You can do that sober too, and it's
know,
way healthier.
I look back at the times that I did drink and did do opiates and shrooms. I've done chocolate shrooms with orange juice. Had the best time ever. But now it's more or less like, just take away that one thing and I could have done the same exact thing.
Right. Yeah. And you'd remember it. You know what I mean? And you be present for it. And yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's really, really like just mind-boggling, the stuff that we do that makes no sense, right? But it still boils down to trying to suppress something that happened that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah, and you don't realize it. You really don't.
You don't. And you know, I think about that like in the past, you know, I'd stay busy with work or I'd have a bunch of friends or whatever, and you really don't start dealing with your shit until you're by yourself.
And when you're by yourself, you create your own stories, you create your own background, you create the stuff in your head, and then you're like, I'm gonna go get messed up.
You need to learn how to be by yourself. You really do. And you know, for me, I was like in the fire service. There was always people around. I was always in a relationship, whatever. And you know, it's been a while now where I've been alone, and it's pretty freaking fantastic. It's powerful because you're not making up stories anymore. You know who you are, and you know that you're solid by yourself. And that codependency, whether it's alcohol or drugs or a person, it goes away, and that's part of your rehab deal.
Yep.
You know, you have friends around, you have all that stuff, but now you're sober from everything, from your codependency, from your drugs, from your alcohol, from everything. That's a big deal.
Yeah, you learn who you are quite a bit.
Yeah, you do. You learn exactly who you are. Yeah, and then what you need too, and you set good boundaries, like you said.
Yeah,
you said that one of the first things you sat down. You had boundaries. Yeah, like, hey, don't treat me like that. Like I'm not a freaking doormat.
Or changing. Like, I have so many friends in high school. Like, I could hang out with the Mexicans, no pun intended, but Mexicans or the jocks or the smart people. Like, I could hang out with all of them at any point in time, but I would change per group. I would change how I speak, what I think about life. You know, if I hung out with the gangsters who like to fight and talk crap about everybody, I would jump right in on the train. With being sober, I can set the boundaries of like, this is toxic. I don't need to be part of this. But in an addiction, you just jump in. It's like you want to have that around you.
Well, yeah, because you have the low self-esteem. You can't set the boundary.
Yeah, you forget who you are as
that
a
happens
person.
in relationships too.
Yep.
And it's interesting, you know, as much as we talk about mental health and as much as we talk about getting rid of those thirds, whatever it may be, whether it's alcohol or a person or whatever, you know, other things fall off with that. And when you're truthful and you're telling your truth, you don't have hundreds of friends because hundreds of friends can't be truthful. And when you tell the truth and you are a real individual that's healthy, that unravels other people. Like, you know, I saw an old friend of mine or whatever at the gym the other day, and they wouldn't even look at me.
Really?
Because they know who I am now. I'm like, I tell the truth. And some of the truth I told was about them, right? And people are scared shitless of that.
It's being judged.
Well, somewhat, yeah, but it scares the crap out of people when they know you're truthful because it exposes them or it unravels them, you know? And then because it makes them, when they look at you, it's like you looking at your arm. It's a trigger for them because they're like, oh my God, he's actually healthy or she's actually healthy, and they're actually telling their truth. Yeah. And that makes them feel threatened, right? Most of the time, I learned this too, this is a really interesting fact that you might find valuable, but most of the time if somebody doesn't like something about you, it's really about them.
Yeah.
They see in you what they don't like about them. So if they're like, hey, you're a whatever, it's because that's what they don't like about themselves.
It is.
It's a fact. It's pretty fascinating. So the other thing that's cool too is that when people are talking crap about somebody else, they're actually talking about themselves.
Yeah, they're calling out the bad in the other person.
But it's about them.
And they're secretly doing that same stuff.
Exactly. And that is really, really interesting when you start to learn those things, you know, that higher power. That's what you start to learn and recognize, is that in those conversations, and you can immediately find out we say on the show all the time, people tell you who they are. As soon as you hear somebody talking crap about somebody else, they're actually talking about themselves, number one. Number two, they're not trustworthy because they're talking crap about probably their friend or their spouse or whatever. But the point being is that they're super unhealthy. You don't do that if you're healthy.
Nope.
I don't have to talk crap about anybody.
No, because you say the truth all the time.
Yeah, I don't need to. Yeah. And if I do say the truth, it's about me. You know, and that's a good boundary to have too. That's a good thing to observe, and it's a good thing to, you know, use as almost like a filter to see who you're going to let around you. And when we talked about that night we were out, there was nobody talking crap.
No, it was a great night.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Nobody has a grudge.
That was the first time that I had been there, and just there's no drama.
Yeah, none. we were drinking, we were having fun, but
it
we were
was
all
the
healthy.
self-control.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And I loved it.
It's pretty amazing. I did this. I had this birthday party a while ago, and it was after I woke up, and I invited a whole bunch of people, and I didn't even realize I was doing it. I remember I stood in the corner, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's like 100 people in this room. They all know me, and I don't care who talks to who. Like I'm real. Like I'm actually a real person. Like everybody knows the same thing about me. Like I didn't have to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was really powerful, and nobody was judging me, and nobody was like, "Oh, who's that?" or "Who's this?" or, you know, it was really cool. And that welcoming, real, healthy environment goes a long, long ways, man. It goes a long ways in healing and being better and all that stuff.
You know, I used to, we had an annual ugly sweater party at our house every year for like 5 years in a row. And it took me till now to realize what you just said is that I had 100 people at my ugly sweater party handing out awards, you know, doing hungry hippo games, like on trays and stuff. But the next day, it was what happened. It was the drama. It was people talking about this person who was at the party and this person talking about this person. And I'm like, I thought we were just having a good time. But when you bring in the addiction part, you're really not.
Yeah.
Because you're hiding.
Right.
You're hiding everything.
And people fall off. People fall off. I had another party where there's a couple people there. They were, you know, abusing. We have an open bar sometimes, and they were like abusing, like bringing people that weren't even invited to the party in to get drinks and stuff like that, you know. And it was funny because when you call it out, like, hey, you know, that's not okay. Like that's not fair.
Yeah.
They just drop off. You just set a boundary, like, hey, don't do that anymore. And they don't show up to the next one. They're still invited, but they just don't show up because they knew they can't do their BS anymore. You know,
they have to be
like
a
the
real
guy
person.
stealing beers. Like you think he's going to go through and steal beers from Sweets again? I doubt it. Pretty ballsy move, and he got totally called out.
Yeah, but the point of him doing it, like,
yeah,
why did he even do it?
Right. Like why
they had their own beers.
Yeah, they had their own sweet. You know, it's almost like I'm going to disrespect you so much. I'm going to come next door and take your shit right in front of you too. You know, and it's interesting to see how, you know, when you're healthy and you're in an environment like that, that just drops off. That it just starts going away.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know, like I said, I promise you that you'll open your eyes one day and be like, wow, you know.
You know, something else that happened at the game, I don't know if you knew this, but where I was sitting, there was a couple people in front of me, right? And there was stuff dropping down on them. So I'm sitting there and I look over, I'm like, hey, is stuff dropping on you? They're like, yeah, all mad, right? So I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm sitting there, there's no one around me. Something else drops on him. And he looks back, he goes, if you guys don't stop throwing stuff at me, I'm about to jump over here and do this. Now, typically, I had, you know, I would already have drinks going.
Yeah, and you'd be like, right on, let's go. Yeah.
But I just sat up and I go, excuse me, sir, I actually told you stuff was dropping on you. There's nobody around me, and I have my hands in my pocket.
It's coming from a level up or whatever,
And then he's like, okay, respect. And turned around, and that was it. But with the addiction, I would have just gotten a fight. And then that would have brought the drama the next day. And then the next day.
What about a whole bunch of drama right there, too? It would have ruined the night, probably, right? Yeah, somebody mentioned one day, and I used to do this, too, like in toxic relationships, they would actually cause drama. Like the people you're with would actually want that to happen because that was part of their fun.
Yeah.
I dated a girl one time that was like that. She actually wanted to cause shit with other people. She'd like look at them or be like, you know, do that kind of crap and like start stuff. And it was like her way of getting, you know what I'm saying? It was really weird. But looking back, like when you're not sober, you don't know it.
No.
You can't fathom that stuff.
It's like they're pointing out stuff that they don't like about other people.
Yeah.
But why?
Yeah.
And
they just cause drama.
It reflects on them.
It does.
Reflects on how, like,
when you're
talking
judging
about someone's shoes.
Right.
Why would she wear those shoes with the dress? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But as a sober person, you notice that. As a drunk person, you're like, oh yeah, those shoes are so stupid with that dress.
Yeah.
You continue it.
We talked. It's funny you even said that because we talked about this show and everybody's like, hey, you know, you're gonna get a bunch of negative comments, and I'm like, really? Why would you do a negative comment about a show that's not making any money? There's no profitability out of this thing to help people. Like, show me where the freaking wrong is in that. So that's all telling, right? Like, if somebody has an issue, they want to judge it, then, you know what I mean? You might want to put a mirror in front of you, my friend. Yeah, and I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just saying that you have to really be conscious and be present about what's going on around you, to understand like that nothing can affect you from the outside if you're healthy. It's not gonna. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
And you don't need to judge. You don't
it's
need
like
to
an
talk
armor.
shop. Yeah.
Once
it's
you get
super armor.
like now, once I'm sober, I don't look at the negative stuff anymore.
Right.
You know, and I
But
feel
you're
that
also
it's-
telling your truth, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't
You don't
have
have to
to
protect
lie.
yourself.
I don't
Yes.
have to protect myself. And
Yeah.
I could be who I've always wanted to be in my life now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. That truth is worth so much. You know.
It's
So,
your word.
It is.
Finally stands out and it finally means something.
Yeah.
You know, my word didn't mean anything after a while. Saying I'm sorry was not good enough anymore because I have said I'm sorry so many times, but the action keeps happening.
Right. Right.
So now with being truthful and just literally saying it right off the front, you know, that boundary happens, the truth happens, and the person can either accept it or deny it. And,
Yeah.
and at that point, it's their opinion. It's their.
If that's their journey. You know yours. Yeah. Eric, that was a freaking good conversation, man. I told you to be badass.
I thank
that was
you.
really good. And I appreciate you being honest. I appreciate you coming on and taking a chance with us and doing what you just did because I know it's going to help a bunch of people.
Yeah, I hope it does help people. And my message is ask for help. Take that step and then commit to it. Don't go half in. Don't think, oh, today I'm not going to participate. You're participating to save your life. If you, it was, what did my therapist say? She said, if I was getting in a fight, how much percentage would I give?
100.
100. So why wouldn't I give 100 to save my life? Why wouldn't I do more, like put in even more of 100%, overcommit, overdo things to save my life?
Yeah.
Because I forgot about my life. And now I'm thinking, I have to save my life. I'm going to do uncomfortable stuff. I'm going to talk about stuff I don't like. And I'm going to commit to saving my life. Finally, at a point.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. Eric, thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Everybody, this is Scott Freymuller and Eric Worth. This is The Knot. We appreciate you watching. We hope this helped.